for public. We want this premier to call public hearings. He's nothing but a cowardly liar if he won't do that. And I ask you.
That was the voice of Bob Bailey in the Ontario Legislature today. He's the member of Provincial Parliament, Progressive Conservative for Sarnia-Lambton. Good afternoon, Bob.
How are you, John?
Now, Bob, I hope you took no offense at me describing you as very mild-mannered, because you are. You're a person who I don't know that I've ever seen you, sort of really fly off the handle. I don't think I ever heard you in the legislature when I was there use that language and call anybody, let alone the premier, a liar. But today you did. What put you over the top?
Desperate times call for desperate measures, John. And all we've been calling for is public hearings. And, the government's refused to listen, and so we're trying to prove our point. We've used every procedural issue we have, every procedure and operation we can, and we're going to keep this up next week as well.
And will that involve members of the legislature on the Conservative side being thrown out of the House if necessary every day?
Well, I think they'll do whatever they think is necessary. Each member has to do what they think's right. For me, it was to try and prove the point that I didn't hear all your show. I'm on the train, so I'm traveling. But I was trying to make the point today. I didn't get quite the opportunity to make it. I got cut off before I did. But that when the federal government in the 90s brought in the GST, they traveled across the whole country, held hearings in many cities and provinces. And at the end of the day, they had a report. They heard from 270-some witnesses, and they had 1,100 submissions, written submissions. And then they passed the tax or the GST at the time. But they heard from people. They give people a chance to say. And that's all we're trying to say is that the people in the province of Ontario need the opportunity to be able to speak to this bill.
Well, I think this one, that one was every bit as controversial. The GST. I mean, people forget that there was sort of furniture being thrown and people climbing over desks, and the Senate was stacked. And so, what you're saying here is, if precedent is any indicator, then a big tax reform like this should be subject to some public hearings. And I've stated repeatedly that I agree with that. I think the Conservatives aren't entirely happy with me because I do say there are things that we should be carefully considering that aren't all bad about the HST in terms of its impact that business says it will have that's positive. But public hearings, I don't know what they're afraid of. So when I guess you didn't get a chance to ask your question today because you got thrown out, but when somebody has asked him why he won't have public hearings, what does he say, Mr. McGuinty?
Well, the Premier says the people have their say in 2011, but my point, that's too late because they've signed this agreement, and when if this does pass, no future government will be able to make changes for a minimum of 5 years because of an agreement they made with the federal government if this goes through. So he's committing not only his own government, but any future government, which probably won't be of their stripe. I'm sure if this goes through, he's committing that future government to this same tax.
Now, I've been around the legislature, as you know, and one of the things that sometimes happens is they say no hearings, and then there's a great fuss, and you're sort of playing that part now, you and the others, and then they concede and say, okay, we'll have 2 days at Queen's Park on a Sunday afternoon, and so now you have your hearings. Do you think that's where we'll end up here, and will you buy into that if that's what they offer?
No, we want, across the province, we want hearings from Kapuskasing to Cornwall, from Sarnia to Strathroy to Ottawa. We want people the opportunity to be able to come out and state their case, and we want the government members to go and defend this. If they believe that this tax is the right thing to do, then they shouldn't have any problem in going and selling it in their riding. I've had nobody write me from my riding or phone me that's in support of this tax, and I can't believe that the government members are any different.
So you're going to keep at this prediction? Are you going to get some hearings or not? Well, we may have lost him. He's on the train there. And that was Bob Bailey, MPP for Sarnia-Lambton. And we thank Bob if he's able to hear us, which may not be the case on the train there. But at least he said what their goal was. And he said we're going to be seeing more of this. The legislature doesn't sit on Fridays, so we won't see it tomorrow. But I guess come Monday, they'll be back at it.